Welcome to the Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts, Josh Kimmel, Dave Campbell, and Justin Bauerle.
Welcome into the Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast. This is the Dynasty Friday edition, the first ever episode of this Dynasty podcast here with Justin Bauerle. No Dave. Dave said he's in his bed in his underwear and he does not want to show up to work today. So this is going to be a new show on Fridays at noon. We are here 9 a.m. early in the morning because of someone seeing a movie.
Yeah, and it's a kickoff show, so you got to be early. It's like Good Morning Football.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning. We have our coffee. I have my coffee ready. I don't know about this guy.
I have my coffee ready.
He's hot coffee, huh?
Mm-hmm. Dude, it's 45 degrees where I live, man. That's why I'm not wearing a tank either.
It is.
Actually, that was a guess. That literally was a guess, and it literally is 45 degrees.
I wish it was 45 degrees. It's 77 over here, hot and sunny. I'm actually drying clothes outside. I'm not even using the dryer today. Just hanging them up, old timey. But we're here to talk about Dynasty football. We have some rosters we're going to evaluate. We're going to talk about when is it time to blow up a team? When is it time to rebuild? Or maybe when are you feeling frisky and maybe you want to compete? But a little bit about our Dynasty history before we get into it. Make sure you like the show. Make sure you subscribe. If you're new, if you're seeing us on X, go to our YouTube page, OUSFF Pod, at Finn's Talk Sports Network. We're live Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoons at noon, 8 p.m. On Wednesday nights, and of course now the Friday show at noon. Follow us on X at OUSFF Pod, at Josh Kimmel OUS, at Viking Dave. He's not here, so screw him actually, and at Justin Bauerle, and on all the other socials as well, Instagram, TikTok, all OUSFF Pod. Now that's out of the way, Justin, when did you start playing Dynasty?
I started the season before the pandemic, so 2019. And actually, I think that was right around the time when I met you and Dave as well. So maybe shortly before that, I started with just the one, and then that's what introduced me to Sleeper. Also, actually, it was the Dynasty stuff, and then now I'm in way too many to count and doing actually pretty well this year. So most of my team, all my dynasties except for one, have a winning record and like by more than 750%. So
when you were introduced into Dynasty, was it taking over a team like an orphan, or did you say I'm just going to start a league and I'm just going to do a fresh league?
Yeah, so I was joining a league that had already existed. So I was taking over an orphan. There's two of us that were coming into the league, so they just actually took all of those players, threw them in to a spreadsheet, and we drafted out of that. And I had to rebuild right from the start. I think I got third place that year, third or fourth out of 12. And I was like, well, I'm hooked. And I immediately started rebuilding the team because I got very lucky that season. So
makes sense. So my history, and I just want to say this, a lot of people are in your position where they started Dynasty new. Sleeper really introduced the Dynasty world to a lot of people, especially in the pandemic era. Yeah. I started playing Dynasty in 2013. I took over an orphan. So I'm 10 years into Dynasty. I took over an orphan. Dirtbag Dave actually invited me. He played Dynasty way before me. Dirtbag Dave is probably the best Dynasty player on this planet. I will say that right now. And I have no problem backing it up. I wish he was here for the show, but he is the best Dynasty player I've ever met in my life. No one's better. But so he introduced me to a league and I took it over. And my first draft pick ever, I had the 102. There was no draft. It was like, this is your team. This is what you're set with. And I remember I had Jamal Charles on my team. Like, I was a stacked ass team. And I had to pick 102. Monty Ball, Le'Veon Bell, Giovanni Bernard. And it was not Superflex because back then Superflex wasn't very popular. So I'm sitting there like, who do I pick? I want Monty Ball. He just set the record for most touchdowns in Wisconsin. He's going to ball out. He went 101. I ended up with Le'Veon Bell. The rest is history. I dominated that league for a while with Jamal Charles and Le'Veon Bell. And then, yes, I started to merge into Sleeper because my fantasy league was my go-to. My fantasy league is still my go-to. It's the best Dynasty platform out there. I don't want to hear Sleeper folks tell me anything different. You guys are new to this platform. You guys are new to this game. Don't tell me nothing about Sleeper. They don't even have victory points. They don't have the customizations that my fantasy league has. But Sleeper's still a good platform as well.
The
Anyway,
customizations for my fantasy league is pretty good. This is my first year in my fantasy league. Before Sleeper, I did, ESPN, NFL, and
yeah.
the other one. And there goes my dog's barking because my wife just got home. But yeah, my fantasy league is pretty cool. I just wish you didn't have to, pay them to have a league in there.
I wish you didn't have to pay him as well, and I wish that they actually came with the money we spend on my fantasy league. Hey, I love you guys. You guys are my guys. I will never switch over to Sleeper if I had to. If I had the choice, I'm staying with my fantasy league. But make an app, bro. We pay you guys a lot of money every year.
Yeah.
Make an app that works.
For real. Oh, and there goes my dogs. Okay, cool.
Okay, it's Veterans Day. We're all home. No one's working. Well, I'm like,
what is this? The pandemic all of a sudden? Like,
yes, but let's get right into our topic of the day because we are mid-season. We're getting to that playoff push, and some of your dynasty leagues, you're thinking like, I'm 4-5, I'm 5-4. Do I have what it takes to actually beat the top 3 teams? And you just have to really analyze your roster, and you have to think, is it worth it to send draft capital to try to win now? But then you have to look and go, even if I obtain this player, it's still not good enough. So we're going to look at some rosters. I think Justin has 3 prepared for me and for him to talk about. And you want to get right into the first one?
Yep. So I have this built out. I've sent you their entire roster, but we don't need to know that they have some really shitty wide receiver out there. So I've included their key player assets on their teams, and we're just going to talk about them. Like I said, we got their draft capital and stuff like that up there as well. So this team is not doing great. This is one of those league median teams. So they are 9-9, but if you go back and look at their record, they're actually 3-6. This is a 12-team PPR super flex, and they're right there in the middle of the pack. Currently, they're in the playoffs in 6th place, but they could just as easily be not in the playoffs with one more loss. They are scoring a good amount of points, 5th in points, but they're also getting scored on the most in the entire league, which is where you see that 99 record. So they have Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones, which who knows about what he's going to end up doing on the Giants. Jordan Love started off great, not doing so great. Zach Wilson, maybe the future of the Jets. We don't know. Probably not. Running back, you're going to see Tony Pollard on these lists a lot. And it's really sad because people invested RB1 capital into him, and he's not RB1. He's like a flex player. So you got Pollard, Jacobs, A.J. Dillon, J.K. Dobbs. Running back room's not looking great. Jamar Chase, this is a big one. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Zay Flowers, Zay Jones, T.J. Hawkinson, Jake Ferguson. So you got a good tight end room. You got some decent wide receivers. You got really shit running back room, to be honest, and you got okay quarterbacks.
He has
not a lot of draft capital either.
This person has a core, but no draft capital, and like you said, the running back room is atrocious right now. Only because you have to think that running back room, they're only getting older. Josh Jacobs and Pollard, especially.
Yep.
But I understand why. I understand why they thought they had a chance in the beginning, because look at this team. It's pretty stacked, right? You think Trevor Lawrence is going to be make that push to be a top 5 quarterback. You think Daniel Jones is going to progress after last season. And then you think Jordan Love is going to finally have a shot, and Green Bay just doesn't miss on quarterbacks. And then the other room, we all thought, most of you thought Pollard was going to be something this year.
Say, we all heard you 2 days ago.
Hey, I do want to bring this up. March 25th at 9:37 a.m., in the offseason, I traded Tony Pollard away, and I got Kyle Pitts in return. I saw the writing on the wall. I like to get out of these running backs right after they, get to the age of 26, 27. I want to get away from them. I did. This person thought differently because he had a win now team. At least he thought he did. But that's just not the case. You have to, I don't want to say blow this team up, because you can't, but you could tinker. Now, what I would do if I had this team, I would try to find either the lowest of the low teams that you can probably find and go, hey, you need help. Daniel Jones is going to be back next year. You need a tight end, so maybe throw him a Ferguson because he's young, because you have Hawk. You're fine with Hawk for the next 5 years. You're fine.
Yeah.
And maybe get some draft capital back. You're probably not going to get there first, obviously, because that's a big pick. especially in super flex leagues. But try to get some pieces that may help you in the future because your team's there. Your team may be there next season, but it's not here this season because you're too many injuries and you're not deep enough. You're just not. Jones and Love have been a huge disappointment on this team. You just need to analyze it and go, because you can sell Dobbins, you can sell Jones, you can even sell a Ferguson for a win now player. But is it worth it? Do you have the ability to take down the top 3 teams? Probably not. And we need that in context because that's important too. I have a team right now currently where I'm the 4th best team, but Dirtbag Dave is the best team by far, just like in Shit Show with you. Is it worth it to try to beat that team and not come close, or is it worth it just to get value? And here, this team, I would like to try to get value anywhere I can.
Yeah, so this one I'm going to lean more towards I'm trying to get draft capital here for the future as well. And you could get that very easily on this roster, I think. I mean, if you decide I'm going to package Jamar Chase out there, and maybe you can get 2 first rounders. Maybe. I mean, with his injury history this year, I would count that. But like you said, you're so close to actually like breaking out. All you need is maybe a running back here, another quarterback here, and you're fine. So yeah, look at your depth. Is Ferguson worth trading out there? Is Hawkinson worth trading out to get a first round pick? Because you have Ferguson, who's going to last longer. I if I had to get rid of one of these guys, yeah, I'd be looking at your tight end room because you have 2 very good tight ends that could service you. Yes, we know Hawkinson is Hawkinson. He's going to do well. Ferguson is still a rookie. Who knows what he actually ends up being? But Ferguson's proven to be doing really well. So you could get some draft capital out of Hawkinson with a 4th round pick only this year. That's going to be really tough to build up next year. And you're only going to be looking at it going down at this point. So I would be looking at maybe moving Hawk for a first or second.
Yeah, I don't mind that move at all. But here's what I see, and I don't know if we build teams differently. I can tell. I played in many leagues with you, and you could probably tell how I like to build my dynasty teams. I go wide receiver heavy at first. So Chase, Amon-Ra, and Zay Flowers. I like to have 4 solid, strong guys.
Yeah, you have to.
So you have Chase. I would not move him for anything. I'm sorry. I mean, everyone has a price. But to move him, I want to get this out there to a lot of people because a lot of people, I've played with so many people who just the next guy, the next draft class is better.
Yeah.
The next, hey, I can trade Chase and I can get Marvin Harrison Jr. I can get this guy. I can get this guy. Guys, if you have a stud, why are we chasing first anymore? We have the stud.
Yeah. The only reason why I'd move on from Jamar is if you're getting 2 or 3 first round picks or like 2 first and a second in this year's draft class. I wouldn't be looking for future stuff. You want to move that quickly because you have a team that can compete. You just need the little oomph there.
Yeah.
So would you consider this to be a rebuild or a retool to get up to the top 3?
This is a retool. You definitely need to solidify that wide receiver room, get that 4th strong player. Because Zay Flowers, he's not really proven he is a PPR guy. You want to get because I'm on Rollins and Chase. They're money. They're top 10 guys. If you can just solidify and get one more, I was gonna. If this was my team, final word on this one. If this was my team, I would trade Ferguson because dynasty players love youth. People are already calling CJ Stroud a top 5 guy in dynasty. That's just not true. I'm sorry. He's like only 3 years younger than Burrow. He's it's just we're really picking nits, and people do value age so much in dynasty, and that's a huge mistake. So I would
yeah, especially at the quarterback position when players can play till they're like 40. So,
and I was going to say with Ferguson, with Jacobs, because Jacobs isn't winning you anything this year and definitely not next year. He's a player I try to move and package those 2 players for a solid wide receiver option. I can't give you one, but you're not going to get obviously Jefferson. You don't want to go after an Adams. You don't want to go after a Diggs. But if you can go after one of even Ferguson for Puka, throw it out there. Ferguson and Daniel Jones for Puka. Throw it out there. Why not? Why not? We've seen Puka have value. We've seen him be a very good player. Now they're getting Carson Wentz, and
you can buy him really low right now too because he's not doing very well.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, just try to. What would you do with Jacobs? That's what I want to ask. What would you do with Josh Jacobs on this roster?
I mean, running back position is your weakest, and Jacobs is probably going to be your most valuable asset there. I would also be trying to move Jacobs for whatever you can. You're going to have to package him to get any kind of value out of him because right now he's probably a late second, third round pick, maybe. You're not getting a first out of Josh Jacobs anymore, especially being on the Raiders. Not being on the Raiders. Maybe this offseason. Maybe you wait until the offseason and see if he does go somewhere else after he probably ends up walking from the Raiders, unless they franchise tag him again.
You could probably trade Jacobs for Puka.
Straight up.
Or so, you probably could. And I would. On this roster, I would.
I would be going to a team that hopefully the Puka owner has no running backs.
Or that's true. That's what you got to do. Dave would tell you the same thing. Look at team 1, look at team 2, look at team 3. Who has an injured player? Who has an injured running back? Who needs running back help? And go attack.
Yeah. I mean, now I want to know who has Puka.
Is this your team?
This is not my team.
Is this whole podcast here to just help you out? Are we just like giving you advice? Hey, I gotta go look who has Puka.
No, I gotta help out my friends, man. I gotta help out my friends.
Well, hopefully they're watching. Hopefully they're subscribing.
See, I'm gonna start clipping these each per team, and I'm gonna send them the video. Like, listen, we talked about your team on the podcast today, so here's what 2 professionals think you should do.
I'm not a professional, but I am someone here that has some
mediocre analysts.
There we go. Not an analyst. Here's what I am, people. I want to let everyone know I'm a fantasy player that has success, that wants to give a little bit more advice out there and help out. I'm not an analyst. I'm not
Josh is
I'm not a professional.
Is an ex fantasy analyst.
I am just
I say ex, not Twitter.
I'm just a person who wants to give advice.
Fuck, who has Puka in this league?
But here's what you want to move on to the next one because
let's move.
You're not going to find out who has Puka and Nakua.
I just found it. So he's actually a pretty good team. So team 2. Okay, so he has a young roster. He's got a lot of draft capital. There are 5 rounds in the fantasy draft. This is a 12-team PPR super flex. He's tied for 5th place with 3 other teams. So currently he's in the playoffs, but again, he could easily just be knocked out of there. 9-9. He's actually got a real 4-5 record. He's 3rd in points for, 5th in points against. So he's not getting scored on a ton. He is doing a lot of scoring. He's got Kyler Murray coming back, Justin Fields, Ryan Tannehill. You can clearly see why he is 9-9 this season. Again, Tony Pollard, Rashad White, Jahmyr Gibbs, Tank Bigsby, A.J. Brown, Amari Cooper, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers. So he's got a young room there, kind of a young room. Laporta, Knox, and Freiermuth. And like I said, lots of draft capital over the next 3 years. Where do you start?
Man, you're getting Kyler back. You're getting Fields back next week, most likely, hopefully. If you can somehow win this week, I'm one of those optimists where I don't give up. I just can't. I know when to blow it up and I know when to retool, but man, this team does have potential to make noise in the playoffs if they get in.
Yeah.
Because Kyler could come out and be great. I think we have to wait to see what Kyler does.
So both Kyler and Justin are going to be playing to keep their jobs. They don't want the 1st overall pick, so they're not going to be settling for, let's just pack it in this season. They're going to be like, I don't want Caleb Williams taking my job, so I'm going to play harder. And hopefully get like the 3rd or 4th pick. And maybe we get Marvin Harrison Jr. or Keon Coleman or somebody like that to improve that roster. So I think they're going to be trying to ball out for the rest of the season. You got 2 very solid quarterback positions right there.
You do. So you don't move those guys. Those guys stay on your roster. Those guys stay still. And it's a very good room. The running back room is also very good. You got young players. Gibbs, White, Pollard is your lead back, and he's not producing this year, but it can still turn around. I can't move him right now because his value is ultra low. I mean, right here that's a good room right there. Gibbs wasn't being used. That's why this team is struggling right now. And then, of course, Kyler being out and Tannehill being benched. There's a good reason why this team's struggling. A.J. Brown is delivered. Amari Cooper is a good veteran. And Addison and Flowers are 2 young rookies. Like, this team is not bad at all. I would not panic. I would not do anything out of the ordinary. I don't think I would honestly make any kind of moves. If I did make a move, it would get rid of one of those tight ends because I don't like holding 2 tight ends. I like to have 1. I know people are like, I need depth for the bye week and yada yada yada. Listen, you got Pat Fryermuth and Laporta. Dawson Knox should be on your IR spot because he's probably gonna be out for the rest of the season. So Knox is a non-factor, and I don't think he has no value. He has zero value because Kincaid, and we don't know Knox's future. I would be trying to remove one of these tight ends. I really would, because people roster these tight ends and you don't use them. They just sit there. I don't know what you can get for a tight end these days because it seems like there's so many average guys like a Fryermuth or Laporta.
He also has Daniel Bellinger on his roster as well. I did not include him.
And for good reason, Justin, for good reason. I know you're on him, but for good reason. This team for me is just you failed this year. You did not, you're not going to be a top team, but next year you will be, because you do have your first round pick and you will be good. I would not move any of these players. Maybe Pollard if you can, but you won't be able to get the value. Maybe if you want to package Pollard and Cooper to a winning team and just to get some young players or some draft capital out of it, that's the only move I would make, because Pollard is going into his year 27, 28, and Cooper is going into the 30s in age-wise. And they are two players that can maybe possibly help a team win now. Your team's not winning now. If you scratch and crawl, you're third in points for. That's great. See, that's tricky, man. When you look at points for, you're like, I can do this. I can win. I look at the leagues I'm in where I'm 4 and 5. Shit show. I'm like, I only have 3 wins, but I know for a fact if I get in the playoffs, I can make damage. But that's a big if. That's huge, man. You can't really. Right now is the time to sell because teams are making their push. And this right here, Pollard and Cooper, right off the bat, I would try to move. I would. I don't know about you.
I agree. Cooper is very up and down. Wide receiver 27 so far this season. He has good weeks and then he has bad weeks. But if you can sell him to a team that is ready to compete right now, is ready to win that championship, go for it. Maybe I'll make an offer today for Cooper to go get him in this league. But yeah, Cooper and Pollard would definitely be my trade targets here. And you can either, get another young player. I know this player specifically loves the young players. He was all about the rookies. Even in the draft, he was only drafting rookies practically.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you get maybe you just sell him for draft capital at this point. But I think like you said, third in points. He's ready to compete right now. He just needs to get in the playoffs at this point because he's outscoring. So you could honestly just get a couple more wins and be fine.
Yeah, if you wanted to, if you look at the roster, and it's very important to know your league, to know, this person likes rookies, or this person doesn't value draft capital. So if you look at someone like Dave and I, we don't really value draft capital. We do to an extent, but we don't value it as much as the ex folks out there or the newcomers to Dynasty, because we realize these first round picks don't hit as often as you guys think. These guys do fall off. These guys do not hit. And it's a 50-50 shot. I mean, if you do your research, you could do your research. Even if you do, you don't know if this player is going to hit or not. Bryce Young is a perfect example. We saw him last night on Thursday Night Football. He is total ass. And I told you guys that he was going to be ass, but it's okay. We'll move on. So it's known. You should know what's going on. Would you trade on this roster Amari Cooper and let's just say Tank Bigsby to the ETN guy who rosters ETN? Let's just assume the guy who has ETN is second or first place. Would you do Tank Bigsby and Amari Cooper for a first just to get him off your team and you get another draft capital?
Yeah.
You would do that?
Yeah, I would do that.
Would you do it first? Would you do it for a second?
I think you're giving up too much at that point, especially if you're ready to compete. Because I think Cooper gives you too much to get a second, unless it's an early second.
That's what I was gonna ask you, because that does matter. People don't understand that.
Yeah, if it's an early second to the shit team, then fine. But if it's a late second to the really good team, who are you drafting at that point?
Would you do it for a quarterback 3? So he has Kyler and Fields. So let's say that quarterback 3 is, no one's giving up Sam Howell.
I was about to say Sam Howell.
No one's giving up Sam Howell.
Trevor Lawrence.
No one's giving up Lawrence for that.
Who? Let's see, leaders here. Okay. We're looking at Bryce Young.
No one's giving up Bryce Young.
Kenny Pickett.
No one's giving up Pickett.
Richardson, Watson, Garoppolo.
No one. You wouldn't want to trade for Garoppolo. So I guess the option is no, because there's no one that you would want to. Because that Cooper, I was offered a second round pick for Cooper, but the second round pick would have been like 209, so I declined it. I value Cooper a little bit more than that, but I value him as a late first or early second, and that's just my value on him because I know he could produce for your team.
You guys watching this show, would you rebuild or retool this? Drop some comments.
Drop some comments. I would retool this. I would not rebuild this.
I think this team is ready to compete. They just got to get over that hump.
You got to get players healthy.
Yeah.
Right now, your two quarterbacks were not healthy.
You need to be flying to Arizona. You need to be flying to Chicago and be like, hey, let me help that injured thumb. Let me help that knee.
And if you had Ryan Tannehill, why did you not roster Will Levis? And if you had, Justin Fields, why don't you have Bagent? Maybe they do have Bagent. I didn't look at the roster.
He does have Bagent.
Well, there you go. That's
I didn't include him because
that's okay.
Not relevant.
He's not relevant right now, but he is relevant to this team because he had Fields, and that's pretty important to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, retool this team. This team is actually it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Let me get in this league.
You're not a fan of the Colts or Titans, so you can't join the league.
Is that one guy in the league where that just gives you all of his players?
He is in this league, but he's doing a lot better in this league than he is in Shit Show.
Okay.
Team number 3?
Yeah, team number 3. I like that guy, by the way. He's cool.
He is pretty cool. So this team, this is a 12-team PPR, one quarterback. They also there's also kickers and defenses. They're 4-5, 6th in points, 9th in points against. This is a team that has done well in the past, actually top 3, 4 range is where he averages out there. However, he's currently 6th in the league, not doing the greatest. He's in the playoffs, but how well can he do in the playoffs? That's the real question. So,
God, this team's a mess.
And it's not a deep bench. I had to throw Dobbs in there because I think he's relevant for Dynasty. He's young, he's doing well. And all his wide receivers are pretty decent other than Adams. He made a mistake last year trading for Adams. He sent AJ Green, DeAndre Hopkins, Cordell Patterson, Tyler Boyd, Chase Claypool, a second, a first, another first, and a 3rd round pick to get Devontae Adams last year.
What?
Or in 2022. In 2022.
Repeat that.
In March of 2022.
So in the preseason of 2022.
Right before the draft, he traded AJ Green, DeAndre Hopkins, Cordell Patterson, Tyler Boyd, Chase Claypool, that year's 2nd round pick, this current year's 1st round pick, next year's 1st round pick, and that current year's 3rd round pick to get Devontae Adams.
God, that's so much.
It should be known he is a Packers fan.
2 firsts alone should have done that job. Should have got that done. Not everything else, but you gave up a lot of trash as well. So he did clean out his closet, as I like to say. That's what I do. When you move a bunch of irrelevant players like Chase Claypool, that's just called cleaning out my closet.
Yeah, I was going to say Claypool. He gave up Tyler Boyd, which would be helping him on this. Notice how he rosters Tyler Boyd again. So he was able to get him back, it looks like. He got rid of AJ Green, Chase Claypool, and Cordell Patterson, but he gave up 4 picks. I'm going to DeAndre Hopkins for him.
I'm just going to say this right now. This team ain't winning shit this year. There's no way.
There's absolutely no way.
This is a total blow up, in my opinion. You need to blow this team up now. But the problem is you waited too long to blow it up. He should have been blowing this team up in the preseason. Devontae Adams should have been sold. I've been trying to sell him everywhere in preseason. Aaron Jones was an easy sell. Derrick Henry was an easy sell. He waited way too long, and now he's going to pay for it because no one's paying for Henry. We saw him get traded in one of our leagues where it wasn't much about, right? Do we see Henry get traded yet?
I don't think Henry got traded in that league yet.
But the value is not going to be high whenever he does get traded.
No.
Devontae Adams, I couldn't get anything for this guy right now. Nobody wants him. We just went through his numbers yesterday's show, or on Wednesday's show at 8 o'clock at night, and he's been awful, god awful. He does lead the league in red zone targets. I know that. If you care about that kind of stuff, not producing.
I mean, that's good. Red zone targets is an important stat in fantasy because it means the team is throwing the ball to you when it matters, when you're going to get 7 points off that throw.
But he's not producing. So this is a one quarterback league. I noticed that. I don't know how you like to handle things in one quarterback leagues, but I think Sam Howell could lead my team. And I think people would buy Justin Herbert just on the name alone. That's what jumped out to me first thing. In a single quarterback league where anyone could be a top 12 guy and you can stream, I would not want to hold on to the megastar of Justin Herbert because he doesn't scream Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. To be honest with you, he had that one electric year, and ever since then, he's been kind of mid. Very good in the upper top 12, upper top 15.
But people still see him as a top 5, top 6 quarterback, so you're going to get value out of him.
Yes, so you can actually get 100% value out of him. I would definitely find the team that lost a quarterback high up. Actually, you don't even need to go into the top 6. You can go to the bottom 6. Whoever just wants a quarterback, whoever has Ryan Tannehill and nobody. I'm sure there's someone out there that doesn't have a quarterback. Offer Justin Herbert for a first easily. Get it done. Just get him off your team because guess what? Sam Howell's playing pretty good in a single quarterback league. I'm sure there's free agents out there you can go pick up. This is a 100% rebuild. You got to get rid of Henry. You just have to evaluate, but you have to be realistic with what you can get. You have to be realistic because if you think Henry's worth 2 firsts anymore or Devontae Adams is worth a first and a player anymore, they're not. They're at that age where they're getting too old. And I try to tell this to every new fantasy player. It's better to be a year too early than a year too late. You don't want to get caught holding the bag. Think about all the people that were holding on to Julio, and then now he just died on your team. Think about all the people that just held Hopkins, and he just died on your team this year. I mean, there's so many. Aaron Jones, he just completely died in front of you. We had a funeral for Aaron Jones dynasty value because, well, we didn't have it. We should, because he's just that dead. And now he's untradeable. And you got to make these moves, man. Like I traded Josh Jacobs for Jameson Williams and Trey Lance. It blew up in my face. It really did. It did. It sucks. Like but you have to take those risks because if you don't take those risks, the players just die on your team. And just think about that. Think about what I said. I traded Josh Jacobs for Trey Lance and Jameson Williams. Both were top 6 picks in super flex leagues. So that's essentially trading for 2 first-round picks. That's good value for Josh Jacobs. It's just the players didn't turn out well. That's just what happened. You have to take risks. So go ahead and do that. Take risks with this team because if you don't take risks, you're just going to fade into obscurity, be in the bottom 9 forever until you finally hit on a player.
Yeah, I think the important thing here on this team is to get back into the first round this coming up season. You need to be building up as much draft capital as possible because you do have young pieces. You've got Ferguson, you've got Dobbs, you've got Rashee Rice, you have Sam Howell. You need younger running backs. You need more wide receivers. And that's really it. I mean, you have Ferguson, you have Howell. You're set there for a while. You just need more running backs and more wide receivers, but you need good talent running backs and wide receivers, not just trash.
And everyone on this team is tradable. Even Rashee Rice, like he's nothing special. He's a good rookie, but he can just fall into that Kansas City mold of never being the top guy because Kelsey's there.
Yep.
So don't be afraid to trade Rashee Rice. He might have besides Herbert, he might be the most valuable player on your team.
Yep.
Because people see him as like, wow, he's the new flashy guy that Mahomes likes. Nobody on this team is protected. That's what you have to do.
Herbert
a lot of people,
Yep.
A lot of people lock their players into, nope, he's untradeable. No, he's not untradeable. Listen to the offers. Everyone has a price, whether it be Justin Jefferson or Rashee Rice. And that's what this player needs to do. This player needs to evaluate and go, wow, this is bad. How do I fix it? And you can't just sit on your hands. When you sit on your hands in Dynasty, you're pretty much saying you give up and you don't care about the league anymore.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, Justin Herbert would be my number one focus to get off this team right now. Yes, you're in 6th place. Yes, you're currently in the playoffs, but you shouldn't be. You're not doing anything in the playoffs, so you might as well blow it up anyway. This is a complete rebuild. Like,
poor guy.
it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck for a couple years.
It might not though. If you get lucky, if you get really lucky and you trade a Derrick Henry for a, let's just say Kyron Williams, because he's whatever, and like, oh wow, he is the guy for the future for the next 3 years. Then you made out. If you trade Justin Herbert and Rashee Rice for
a first and another young player, that
then you're like, oh cool, like look at me, I got yeah. So there is saving this team. It's just not going to happen overnight.
Maybe with Jamar Chase and Higgins likely both out this week, maybe Tyler Boyd has a big game and you then sell him.
No, what you do is you go to the Higgins manager now, and you go to the Chase manager now, and just get a second round pick for him. Just get a second round pick. Just go, hey, you have Higgins. He's not playing this week. That's what I'm doing. If I have Higgins in a dynasty, I'm giving up a second easily for Tyler Boyd. Easily. Not even questioning it, because I know if I'm a win now team, if I need to win, because I know I'll easily give up my 209 or 210 for a chance to lock up this win, and maybe Higgins is out for an extended period of time. That's what he needs to do. Even Godwin's a sell. All of these players are sells.
They're all there's not a safe person. If you're this team, you need to be just going to your roster and hitting trade block, trade block, trade block, trade block, trade block on every single player, and just say,
yikes,
whole team is up for sale except for maybe Howell. And that's it.
Even Howell's for sale. Everyone's for sale, dude.
That is true. Everybody is for sale for the right price. Some might just be more valuable. I personally love when owners come to me and are like, what is he worth to you? And I'm like, probably way too much. And they're like, got it. I'll move on to the next person.
Yeah. Like we all have our players that we love in Dynasty. I love my players, and people know that. And I let it known. And when they come at me on trades, they text me and go, hey man, I know you love Waddle, but I'm offering you this person and this person and this person. And I'm like, that's still not good enough, dude. And it's okay to say that. And it's okay to move on from a trade. Don't feel like you need to trade these players just to trade them. Make sure you get good value for it.
Right.
And don't take, I don't want to say don't take bullshit. Don't take less, but also don't get stuck with Derrick Henry when he retires. And you're like, well, I didn't get anything for him.
The important thing in Dynasty is you don't have to make a trade. I think that's the most important. If somebody comes to you and offers you something, you don't have to make a trade. Just say, hey, I don't want to trade that guy. I'm not going to settle for less. I believe in him. He's my guy. Move on. You don't have to be like, oh, I'm going to be nice. Like, how about I'll take this lesser offer instead? No, expect the most for your team. You're not trying to rebuild another player's team. You're building your team. Exactly. I think a lot of people forget that, oh, this person made an offer, so I might as well like counter it just to be nice. No. And if you want to counter it, then counter it for like 5 first-round picks and really good players and see what happens. Because the worst thing that's going to happen is he says no. The best thing is you get 5 first-round picks and a really good player.
That's another thing is don't be afraid to send trade offers out there. I get criticized for it a ton with casual players. Like, oh, all Josh does is send out bad trades. Some people accept those bad trades. Some people accept.
We saw that in a redraft league just a couple days ago. And then Dave turns around and starts making shit trades all over the place.
Freaking Dave, man. Can't bring that guy anywhere. You really can't. You really can't. I love you, Dave, but you can't bring me anywhere, dude. All right. Yeah. Do we have any more teams, or was that the last one?
That's the 3.
Sweet, man. How do you like the old Dynasty vibe? I think we're going to get into some hot topics. I think over the off season and into the playoff season, we're going to get into more in depth on players, positions, values, when to get rid of a player. It's going to be a good time. I don't know what you have planned, because this is your project. You love this idea. I love it too. No?
Yes. I do. I love Dynasty. Like I don't even care about my redraft leagues anymore. I have 3 redraft leagues in there. 2 of them are shit. So it's like
mixing redraft with Dynasty is very
so
difficult.
hard. Sometimes it's so hard, but it's so weird for me because I like redraft for the nostalgia. Like it's like, oh, it's draft season. Like let's go get the best players. Let's have fun for this season. Dynasty it continues to go on every year, except for I play Dynasty like it is redraft. And I I'm like, I want the best players. Don't give a shit about my draft picks. I want the best players now. I'm winning. I'm paying this money. I'm going to win this season. I don't even care. I have no qualms about it.
Yep.
Give me the best players. And I just figure it out every year. And I'm like, okay, this person sucks. Let's get him out. Let's get a new person in here and retool. Let's go again for another championship run. And that's how I play Dynasty is I play Dynasty like it's redraft. And everybody else plays Dynasty for the future.
Everyone is enamored by draft picks and young players, while I'm enamored by wins.
Yep.
So
and points.
So let's get on out of here. Please, if you like this show, subscribe, turn on those bell notifications, of course. Follow us on our YouTube page as well, OUSFF Pod at Fins Talk Sports Network. We're live every Tuesday at noon, Wednesday at 8 p.m., and of course Friday is now at noon with a special time right now at 9 a.m. Follow us on X, OUSFF Pod, and on Instagram and TikTok as well. I'm a TikToker now. Catch me doing dances. I'm a TikToker. I'm very popular, very famous. My kid.
You're not going to find that on our channel, hopefully.
Right here.
Maybe you will. Maybe that's how we break out in the world is you just dancing on TikTok.
That's the plan. That's the plan. So until next week, guys, we'll be here on Tuesday breaking down priority waivers. Back to redraft. Go enjoy that movie, Justin. We're out of here.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. Follow on X and Instagram at OUSFFPOD. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.